when you hear complaints about like Fizz TF, this is why. Uh-oh. This very much looks like discard aggro, and I do not know if we are well prepared for a discard aggro matchup. Actually, Courier is one of the few ways we have to heal our Nexus, but I don't think you keep the 6-cost card. Alright, we can't block the Teemo anyway, so we'll go with the prep. This also makes our shaped stuff better off. That's also a nice pickup for round 2 here to deal with the Teemo. So we'll see what we can do. It's Croc week here. We're continuing the trend. This time we're pairing Renekton with Bilgewater so that I could do some fun things with Misfortune and Ye Be Warned. I do think this is one of the weaker versions of Renekton, just to be upfront. If you're looking for a competitive Renekton list, this one isn't it. I think the Freljord one is probably the best of the bunch, with Noxus close behind. So now we have to decide, do we want to play more blockers or develop the Misfortune for next round? So we have the 2 here. Yeah, I think I'm fine with the Misfortune. They don't have enough to get excited her at the moment, so we should be fine. That's problematic, but not the end of the world.
Anything helps.
I guess we're really doing this. Let's take a real close look at the action.
So I think that it's just like this. You're just fine with taking the trades and mitigating as much damage as possible here. Now they could nuke our Misfortune, but they could do that at any time anyway. We don't have great ways to protect her. The +1 health is irrelevant in that regard, so you do this. Now the only reason that I did it this way instead of using Misfortune to take that attack was I was afraid of something like a vision. All right, crowd favorite is sizable, but we've got a decent block for it, so this is really about other potential blocks, right? So it's just a question of, do we want to play a Ruin Runner, or do we want to exhaust and play a Butcher? I think I actually kind of like the exhaust. Butcher play. But we'll go with the runner. At some point we got to start counter pressuring. Exhaust is going to be better for that exchange. So I think here taking the 5. Guess it is more than 5 for the overwhelm that I didn't factor in. But here we get to do something like this. Then that allows us to develop the Butcher. And then we'll have Sand Spinner for whatever units they play. Our biggest concern now is actually just Jinx, because they're low enough on cards that that becomes a problem.
Observe the price of ambition.
So we'll do that, and then we're in a good spot where as long as we can survive this round, a good counter attack should be enough to get it done for us. We just have to survive with most of our board intact. Having our Rite of Negation here helps a little bit with that as we are trying to navigate it. So they had to get excited. Realized not necessarily the best, so they go with the chompers. We'll just pass, wait and see what this last card is. Again, we're mostly worried about Jinx. It's not a card that we want to deal with at the moment. And we get the surrender. All right. There's a game under our belts. Managed to survive it. Let's go play another, and then I'll talk through the deck list about, you know, the Bilgewater version. Oh, look. Twisted Fate Fizz. I'm just out here trying to enjoy Croc Week. This is how you repay me. Double Butcher. I don't know, that feels like a bit much here. Because we're attacking on one, we're going to play the Dune Keeper. We don't have good ways to trigger this off round. I guess maybe keep one if we find a 2-drop. But this is definitely a start with the Dune Keeper opener. Naturally, they have the Fizz, because why wouldn't they? They always have the Fizz. See, that's problematic. This is why I was a little bit weary on keeping the Butcher. Guess we'll take the gun. Gives us a little bit more flexibility. And I guess we're just playing the Butcher as well. We don't really want to bank the spell mana. We'd like to get the Plunder, but if we're gonna just play Misfortune and swing, and let's be honest, that's our entire game plan. This theoretically trades with a Ballistic Bot. I say theoretically because naturally they have the get excited. They always do. But now we can at least send the Butcher. Okay. Second Misfortune's a decent top deck here as we continue trying to race them. And make no mistake about it, that's what's going on. Just because that gives us the flexibility of deciding which one of these we want to do. That's not what we wanted to see. Mecha Yordle. Alright, so we do this. And they go with a zap. And so now we could go with the gun if we wanted to make Renekton run into that, but I feel like Renekton running over the zap is slightly better. That's a bit of a tough call. Because we're kind of relying on Renekton finishing this off, but we have a backup one that we can play. You know what? Because we have this as a backup, I think we're fine with this one dying if it means we can run over a Fizz. This just lets us push more damage as we go wide here. Because this is absolutely a race. We don't have any cool control tools to like outmaneuver this list. You're just trying to kill them before they pop off. 100%. So they do that, which is not exactly a shock. They do that because they wanted an extra blocker.
Why are you here?
And we ship them. So the bot dies to anything because of the extra Misfortune damage.
Love ya.
And they want to keep the elusives that they have and go down to 2. So I think they have enough to win. Like if they're doing that, that's a really bad sign. Like, there's no reason they would want to go down to 2 here willingly. So this is not necessarily looking like a great turn for us at the moment. Yep, get excited. They're just going to try to burn us out. We're at an effective health of 8. Effective health of 5, 4 if they go that route. And then what? 2 mystic shots? Oh, even worse. Yep. Uh-huh. So this takes us to 1, and then they mystic shot us, and there's nothing we can do here. So we do our absolute best to race, and then we still lose. We're gonna leave this one in because I think people, when you hear complaints about like Fizz TF, this is why. Because we threw everything we had at this, and it just wasn't enough. Like, they just go off with the burbles. Like, they didn't even play Twisted Fate. Like, that's the worst part. They didn't even need to do anything crazy. Burblefish is what it is. So we're gonna end here, and we're gonna go talk about the deck list anyway, so you can see what I was running, and we'll go from there. So for today's video, for Croc Week, we were playing Renekton with Bilgewater, mostly because I wanted to play around with Ye Be Warned and Misfortune. So we'll go through the list. As I said earlier in the video, this one is less competitive, not necessarily one I would recommend. I've lost a lot of games this week playing really weird Renekton builds, so I think once Croc Week is done, I might switch back to more competitive lists and at least get out of Plat, because I've been putting it off. Last season, I waited till the absolute last moment to hit Masters, and I don't want to do that this season, so we're still going to enjoy Croc Week. Tomorrow's deck is also not super competitive, but it was the one I wanted to end the week on, so we're going to suffer through it, and then we'll go on to, you know, some more competitive lists. But for today's list, like I said, I wanted to pair it with Bilgewater. So right out of the gate here, we've got Ancient Preparations, because I wanted to run Shaped Stone. And so this is a solid 1-drop, helps you with the predict, and then also helps activate Shaped Stone. Dune Keeper, just a great 1-drop in general. Exhaust for triggering your Renekton and getting those trades. Butcher is one of the better 1-drops in the game. I would say before Dune Keeper existed, it might have been the best. Just generic 1-drop in the game. Shaped Stones, and then the Ye Be Warned, because it cycles and it's another way to give vulnerable. Does have its downsides. Obviously, Exhaust is just functionally superior because of the speed at which you can play it. That's really important, but also the -2/-0. However, this does cycle, so in theory, if you're popping this off and then you're getting your trades, you are not really losing card advantage. But you know, in practice, it's one of those things that it just sounded better on paper. I'm going to be upfront with y'all about it. Hired Gun is another great Bilgewater card. It's one I'm actually a pretty big fan of in general, and it works better with Renekton. Rock Hopper is a card that I have fallen out of love with, but I kept it in this version because I was trying to activate Shaped Stone to be more aggressive overall. I was running Researcher here because we didn't have a lot of great 3-drop options, and if you draw something and it's got the buff, like maybe it bails you out. But the reality is we just didn't have great 3-drop options here, so that was my go-to filler. And then pretty standard stuff after that, right? Renekton, Right in Negation is a one of. The Ruin Runner, because it's amazing. Sand Spinner, because it's a great vulnerable option. And then I was running 2 Citrus Courier, because this is a card that's great with Misfortune. It's also great with Renekton. If you get that first challenge in, you get the bonus, and then if you can play the Courier, sometimes the second attack is enough to level your Renekton. You can do some silly things there. If you've got the level 2 Renekton, getting that second attack is nice as well. And since this is one of the only ways that we get the rally effect in Bilgewater, wanted to try it out. This was actually okay. I think the biggest issue is that it's so expensive. Yes, you get the body and you get the heal, and the heal's pretty relevant with Renekton as well, but having to reserve 6 for a rally just feels so much more prohibiting than when you're playing Demacia and you're spending 3 or 4, because at the times in the game where you want your rally effect, you need usually to have enough mana for combat tricks to survive the attack to make the rally worth it to get that second round of attacks in. And when you're devoting 6 mana to it, it's much harder to save mana for your combat tricks, which is also why I was leaning more towards things like Shaped Stone, Exhaust, etc., because I wanted cheaper combat tricks to try to pair with Courier. But again, just up front overall, this one was the worst performing of them, even worse than the one I'm saving for tomorrow, but I wanted to end on a bang. So that being said, it's still fun. In a more fair meta, this could actually thrive. It does pretty decent against aggro lists that aren't TF Fizz, and it does pretty well against other mid-range lists that don't have Target in them. However, most of the decks you're running into are TF Fizz and or Target based mid-range, or at least for me the last couple of days. So it's been a bit brutal, I'm not gonna lie. But this was day 4 of Croc Week. Tomorrow is the final day. We're gonna end with one last Renekton list, and then I will switch to more competitive decks. Don't worry, memes aren't going anywhere, but I think I need to play to at least get the diamond, and then we'll play some memes again, and then we'll finish the climb. I've been putting it off, but I just wanted to focus on fun. Right now, if we're being honest, the competitive state of the meta right now is pretty cut and dry. It's very black and white. Like, there are certain lists that work, and they kind of dwarf the other ones, and so I wanted to spend more time focusing on fun. There's been a lot of negativity, I think, in the community, and rightfully so. If you're a competitive player, it doesn't feel good, I think, to be playing the same lists that you've been playing and running into the same matchups and so on and so forth. I'm not trying to diminish those criticisms and complaints, but there's been a lot of negativity, and so for me, it's just a time to focus on fun, which is why I'm still at the bottom of plat, because every time I think about trying to climb, I think about the kind of decks that I would want to play, and they're just not ones that necessarily speak to me at the moment. There's a couple of lists that I like, and so like I said, we might go back to those, but you know, right now this is I think a perfect time to play funny crocodile lists as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, if you made it this far, appreciate you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for the last day of Croc Week, and until next time, may you walk on warm sands.